Hello students, myself Dr. Pallavi Rai, and today I am here to discuss about the drugs which are used as volatile oil drugs in the treatment of various disorders. So today we will start with clove and mentha. It is a part of your unit 2 of BP 504 in 5th semester. So we will start with clove and mentha, which are drugs in the basically volatile oil category. So first drug we are going to discuss today is mentha. Commonly this mentha is also known as peppermint. You must have heard about peppermint. Many of the chocolates etc. they are available in the peppermint flavor, but it also contains, this peppermint contains an active ingredient which is known as menthol, which has many medicinal uses. So you may have used it as a chocolate traditionally, but exact use is as a basically a medicine because of its active constituent, which is menthol, and it is also known as brandy mint. Commonly in western countries this drug is known as brandy mint. In India we have a different variety of this mentha which is commonly known as the spearmint. In common language we call it pudina, okay, that is spearmint, but it is very different from peppermint in terms that it does not contain menthol. So we should not get confused with the mentha which is used for the production of menthol and the spearmint or the pudina which we consume in our food, okay. So now we move to the biological source of mentha. The mentha basically is used to isolate the volatile oil obtained by the distillation of Mentha piperita belonging to the family Labiatae. So the biological name is Mentha piperita belonging to the family Labiatae. There are few other varieties also which have been mentioned. One is the Mentha arvensis, which has similar amount of menthol in it. However, the official variety is Mentha piperita. Official means the drug which is basically approved by the pharmacopoeias, okay. So Mentha piperita is the official drug. We can use Mentha arvensis for the isolation, and spearmint, this is also known as Mentha spicata, okay, it is Mentha spicata. So you can write it in an adulterant. As an adulterant we can say that spearmint is a adulterant, but the uses of mentha, that is peppermint, and spearmint are very much different. Why? Because spearmint does not contain menthol, okay. So now we will focus more on the uses of menthol with the reference to Mentha piperita. Now the geographical source of this Mentha piperita, basically peppermint, it is found in the European countries, in United States, and in many damp places, specifically in Europe. Means it grows wild, like in our India we have many plants which grow very wild, like vinca grows wild. Same way in England mentha grows as a wild plant. So it is a European drug. Now the cultivation and collection of mentha. So basically for the cultivation, generally peppermint, it requires a fairly warm moist climate, okay. It should be slightly warm, as well as lot of moisture is required for the germination of either the seeds or the runners, okay. Now here you can use either the seed for seed propagation or sowing the plants of mentha, or you can use the runners. Now what are the runners? Runners are basically the subaerial, they are the subaerial roots which are present just above the ground, okay. They are not in the air, they are not below the ground, but they are just adjacent to the surface of the ground. So they are known as the runners. So these runners are generally cut into small pieces and they are used for the vegetative propagation, okay. So generally, rather than using the seeds, it is better to consume, better to use the runners for the vegetative propagation for faster growth of the peppermint. If we wait for the seed germination, it takes longer time for cultivation. Okay, so that is why runners are preferred, and these runners, they are sown in shallow trenches, means there are shallow, this type of, this shape of beds are made in the fields. They are shallow, so that water can be retained there and the runners can germinate the roots easily. Okay, and they are placed around 3 feet apart from each other. The soil has to be well prepared in the sense that it should have lot of humus. Humus means what? It is the organic content, so it needs lot of humus and it should be well drained. Well drained means water should be there, but it should not stagnate there for a long period of time. It should not keep there accumulated for a long period of time. And once these crops are grown, because it grows very fast, it is maximum height, it comes to about maximum comes to 1 meter. Okay, so maximum 1 meter height plant is required. So it grows very fast, and for cutting, generally a hand cutting is the easiest method for removal of the plant. And after that, it is distilled in a straw. So there are specific units or collection, you can say extraction units, which collect these volatile oils from the leaves. So in short, we will see how the collection of the mentha oil is done. So what is done is that this is a boiler. You can say it is a steam jacketed boiler, where the steam is flowing in the outside compartment, and inside compartment we have our drug. Okay, so it is being heated, and here we have various perforations. You can say small holes are there on the outside jacketed, you can say the steam distiller. And what happens is that the steam through the perforations, it enters the compartment where the drug has been kept. These green color structures are the drugs. Okay, so these are the mentha leaves. Now what happens is that steam is at a higher temperature, around 100 degrees centigrade, and same way we have our volatile oils. Volatile oils are also they are having a very less boiling point, okay, less than 100. So along with water, these volatile oils will also start evaporating, and here we have a mixture of both the volatile oils as well as water vapor coming together. And then here is the condenser unit, where our volatile oils and the water both will condense, and then they will flow through this due to gravity in the lower collection vessel. This is a collection vessel or a separator we can call. And now we know that volatile oils and water are immiscible in nature. Okay, they will not mix together. So based on the density, they are going to separate into two different layers. Now we know that majority, I am saying majority, not all, okay, majority of the volatile oils are having density lesser than water, while water has a density of 1 gram per ml. Okay. So what happens is that the volatile oil will be on the upper side, water will be on the lower side. So we can collect them from the upper part, we can separate out the volatile oils, and from the lower part we can separate out the water. So this is how the collection of this mentha oil is done using this steam distillation technique. Now the characteristics of mentha. What is the basically morphology of mentha? So this is a small plant, it does not grow to a very you can say large heights, maximum 1 meter to 1.5 meter it grows, and the leaves are very much similar to, because you must have seen tulsi, everybody has tulsi in their house. So the leaves is very much similar to tulsi leaf. Okay. So the leaves are very short, just like tulsi, and are distinctly, they have a stalk. Stalk means what? That they have a petiole. Okay, they have a petiole or a stalk at the base of the leaf, and this leaf, it is basically the size of the leaf is around maximum 1.5 inches and width is, you can say, 3/4 inch. Okay. So, from 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch is the size of this particular leaf, and the margin of the leaf is finely toothed. Finely toothed means that if you have seen neem leaf, okay, neem leaf you must have seen that it has this kind of teething, it has a teething structure on its margin. Same way, very minute teething, not as big as the neem leaves, but very minute teething is there in case of this mentha. So, it is finely toothed with smooth upper and lower surfaces. So, the surface is very smooth to touch. Now, this smoothness comes because it is having many trichomes, okay, because this is a volatile oil containing plant and volatile oils normally are produced from the glandular trichomes of the leaves, okay. Now, if you take a section, if you do the microscopy of the leaf, you will find that below the microscope at 10x there are numerous glandular trichomes on the surface of these leaves, which are responsible for the volatile oil production. Okay. So, that is why the surface is very smooth, because there are many minute small structures which are present. The stem of this leaf is around 2 to 4 feet in height, maximum 4 feet is I can say more than what is normally found. So, it is around 3 feet maximum height, and the stem is generally purplish in color. It is not very greenish, it is purplish in color. If you look at the flowers are just like you have already seen tulsi plant. So, you can say that the flowers of mentha are also similar to tulsi, and the inflorescence here of the flowers of mentha is basically a spike inflorescence. Spike inflorescence is a type of a raceme inflorescence. Okay. Raceme inflorescence is what? When the flowers at the lower side are bigger and at the top are the new ones or the bud form. Okay. So, the older flowers are on the lower side and the younger flowers are at the top. That is a raceme inflorescence, and spike is because these flowers do not have a stalk. Okay. Means if it is a stalk inflorescence, means it is a normal raceme, what will happen, that there will be a stalk and then the flower is attached. In this case, the flower is directly attached to the axis. So, this is a spike inflorescence. Okay. So, that is the characteristic of this flower. Very bright purplish colored flowers are there, which are arranged in a spike inflorescence. I will just show you that the flowers are reddish violet or purplish in color, present in the axils of the upper leaves, forming loose uninterrupted spikes, means that they are arranged in a spike inflorescence. Now, if we talk about the leaf, if we take the smell of the leaf, it has a very characteristic odor. You can identify exactly correlate it with that of menthol. You must have smelled menthol many times. So, it has that characteristic menthol like odor, and if we eat this mentha leaf, so initially it produces a very hot feeling, temperature rise is felt in the tongue, and after that it has a aromatic taste at first, and then later on we have the sensation of cooling. Just like whenever you must have consumed any lozenge of menthol, okay, at that time you must have felt that initially it had a burning hot sensation, then aromatic taste, and gradually a sensation of coldness or cooling. So, that all these things are happening just because of menthol present in the oil. If we talk about the oil, it is a colorless yellowish oil, sometimes greenish also, with a very penetrating odor. It goes inside and it is very penetrating. You cannot bear it for a long time if you smell the concentrated menthol oil. Okay. And sometimes if it is applied on the tongue or on the skin, it has a burning sensation, and the taste sometimes you can call it a camphorescent taste, means camphor like. Okay. It tastes like a camphor, and as we keep on storing our oil Now normally it is ki when we store anything, it gets degraded with time as per the shelf life, but the peculiarity of mentha oil is that it is stable for a time of 14 years, and as you keep on storing it, the mellowness increases. Mellowness means that it becomes more and more aromatic in odor, more and more effective in its action. So it is considered to be good for about 14 years, which is a very long period of time. Now the main chemical constituents in mentha. So the main chemical constituents, which I already discussed many times, is menthol, and then the derivatives of menthol, that is menthone, pulgen and menthofuran. These all structures are interrelated to each other. Other than that, it contains methyl acetate, isovalerate, cineol, certain inactive pinene, limonene, etc. And menthol can be easily isolated from mentha oil by directly cooling the oil at -22 degree centigrade. So you have to just chill the oil at -22, menthol will completely separate out. And one more thing is that this mentha, when we are doing the cultivation of mentha, it is normally done in 3 countries: Japan, America as well as England. And the best variety is the Japanese variety, which produces about 85% of menthol, means the total oil which we get, in that 85% is menthol. Then in the English variety we get around 60 to 70% of menthol, while in the American variety we get about 50% of menthol. Okay. So the best variety is the Japanese variety. Now if I tell you something more about the volatile oil menthol, is that it is a monoterpene. Okay. Now what is monoterpene? Monoterpene, you have studied in unit 1 that isoprene units, they are generally synthesized by various biosynthetic pathways, and these isoprene units are generally synthesized either from mevalonic acid or deoxyxylulose. Okay. So we have the C5H8, which is nothing but the isoprene unit. Okay. When 2 isoprene unit come together, then we call that molecule as a monoterpene, which will have the basic ring of C10H16. Okay. Now this C10H16 has been designated here as this menthol, where we have I will call it non-aromatic. Okay. It is a cyclic non-aromatic monoterpene. So I can further classify it as a cyclic monoterpene. Further, there is one more peculiarity, that it has a hydroxy group, and we know that volatile oils are classified based on their functional groups. So what can I say? It is a hydroxy cyclic monoterpene volatile oil. So this is how I can define menthol. Now when this menthol gets converted to a keto derivative, okay, it gets converted to a keto derivative with one unsaturation, then it becomes menthone. Okay. So we have menthone is also same way, it is a cyclic monoterpene which is a keto derivative, and then we have cineol, which is again a different type of monoterpene volatile oil. So these are the main volatile oils which are present in mentha, and they all are they have basically existing either as dextrorotatory or levorotatory, means they can rotate the plane of polarization, they are optically active compounds. Now the uses of mentha. Mentha is generally used as a stimulant. Stimulant means a digestive stimulant, a respiratory stimulant. So it stimulates our whatever processes are taking place in our body. It is used as a stomachic. Stomachic means whenever there is a stomach ache, it reduces the stomach pain. It acts as a carminative. Carminative means what? It expels the gases which are formed in our stomach or in the intestine through the oral route, that is carminative. It is used in flatulence, again the same thing, when a person is suffering from lot of bloating or gases, then it is known as flatulence. So, mentha is given to relieve from flatulence as well as in colic. Colic again is when there is a pain in the large intestine. Okay. So, all these places normally this mentha is acting. Then it is used in the treatment of dyspepsia, when the pepsin release is not proper in the GIT, mainly in the stomach the pepsin is released. So, when it is not released properly, we call it dyspepsia. And when there is any abdominal pain, okay, abdominal pain means when there are spasms in the intestine. So, there are many reasons at any point of time what can happen, that the person can suffer from abdominal pain. Okay. So, there when mentha is given, it reduces the spasms of the basically GIT, because of which the pain is reduced. I will give you one example here, that many people have to be undergo endoscopy. Okay. Endoscopy is generally a diagnostic test which is done. So, many people undergo endoscopy, and while doing the endoscopy they have to suffer lot of pain. Okay. So, when this drug is given, the pain is relaxed. Okay. So, that is why it is a anti-spasmodic drug or a smooth muscle relaxant drug. Then it also increases the internal heat and induces perspiration. It is sometimes given in hysteria, which is a CNS disorder, and other types of disorders to, you can say, reduce the activeness of the patient. Now, we come to the next drug, that is clove. Clove, in common language we call it long, and generally in common market it is known as the clove buds or clove flower. So, this drug is actually the bud of the particular plant of clove, and the biological source is that it consists of the dried flower buds of Eugenia caryophyllus belonging to the family Myrtaceae. Okay, it is Eugenia caryophyllus belonging to the family Myrtaceae. This plant is basically producing flower buds which are used as the drug, and the main use is what? It is a dental analgesic used in tooth pain. Okay, whenever we have any kind of pain in the mouth, in the tooth, the best remedy is putting one long or clove in our mouth. It reduces the toothache. Okay. Now, this clove is basically indigenous to, found mainly in Indonesia. Okay. They are a group of island countries, that is Indonesia, and in that various islands like Amboynia, Sumatra, they are the main islands where this production is done. Other than that, it is found in Zanzibar, Pemba, Brazil, which are various tropical countries. India also does the cultivation of clove, and it is generally done in South India, in Nilgiri, Tenkashi hills and Kanyakumari. So, in South India the cultivation of clove is favorable. So, what is the requirement for cultivation? So, this tree generally it is a evergreen tree which grows at a height of 10 to 20 meters, and it requires moist, warm and equable climate, which is generally found in the coastal region of our country, and the rainfall should also be well distributed. The altitude required is 900 meter. At an altitude of 900 meter, we get the best quality of clove. So, for cultivation the seeds are propagated in the nurseries. Okay. So, the initial growth is done in the nursery, and because this plant is very you can say vulnerable to external factors, so we have to protect it. So, for protection what is done normally, that when the plant germinates it is protected through banana leaves. Okay. So, banana plantation is generally done besides these clove trees, and it is protected from direct sunlight or direct rainfall. So, the banana leaves are generally kept in the nurseries also, and once it grows to a age of 1 year, it is transplanted into the fields, and in the fields also it is kept in mind that around these seedlings we have taller trees, either bamboo trees or banana trees or something like that are planted besides the clove tree, so that it is protected from any direct sunlight or other factors. Now, once this tree is matured enough at an age of 6 years to 70 years, we can collect the clove buds depending upon its flowering season. And generally in the rainy season, we have the buds which are greenish in color, which gradually change to a rosy peach color when they mature, and before they open, before the clove open, we have to pluck the cloves. If it opens, then what will happen? That the clove has the clove has completely opened and it is going to get pollinated. So, it is a matured flower. So, we do not have to collect it that point of time, we have to collect it before that, and normally the collection is done by beating or climbing the trees, or various mobile platforms or bamboo sticks are used to just thrash the tree, so that those clove buds they fell off. After that they are dried, and after drying we get the clove. So, this is the clove bud, and you can see that this is the hypanthium, the stalk of the flower. This is the basically the we have the calyx corolla part on the upper part, and this is the stalk which is known as the hypanthium. The volatile oils are generally produced from the stalk regions, and in this region we have the androecium and the gynoecium which is present. The average size of this is around 13 mm is the average length of this clove. Now, this is the picture where you can see that these are the peach colored cloves which are generally collected for their maximum volatile oils which are present, and it contains mainly the hypanthium which is producing the volatile oils. These are the petals, these are the sepals, and these are the petals. So, this is how the structure is seen for the clove. The main chemical constituents which are present are eugenol, acetyl eugenol, gallotenic acid, and two crystalline principles alpha and beta caryophyllins, along with methylfurfuryl, gum, resin, and fiber. Now, eugenol here, it is the basically the you can say the volatile oil which is the main volatile oil or the monoterpene which is showing its dental analgesic effect. So, eugenol is considered to be the main. Gallotenic acid is the tannin which is giving the crimson red color to the clove. So, the dark color of clove is due to the gallotenic acid, and the activity, main activity is due to eugenol. Other than that, we have acetyl eugenol, caryophyllins, methylfurfural, gum, resin, and fiber which are used. This is the structure of eugenol. You can see it is a hydroxy group is there, methoxy group is there, and then alkene group is there, and it is aromatic in nature. It has a benzene ring, and this is the caryophyllin which is a sesquiterpene. Okay, sesquiterpenes means 3 isoprene units. The chemical test, one chemical test we do with KOH, potassium hydroxide, it produces needle shaped crystal with clove. Second test what we do is we add alcohol, and with alcohol we add 1 drop of FeCl3, then this clove oil it produces blue color. And the third test is if we take the chloroform extract and then we add 30% aqueous solution of sodium hydroxide, then needle and pear shaped crystals are produced. So, the main uses are mainly that it is a dental analgesic, antiseptic, carminative, also used in to kill intestinal parasites and in treatment of intestinal worms and digestive ailments. Finally, the adulterants are the matured flowers of clove, that is those cloves which have opened up, they are known as the blown cups, or if they have pollinated we call them the mother cloves. Then the stalks, that is the attachment of those flowers, stalks are generally used for adulteration. Then if the oil has been completely isolated from the clove, it is known as exhausted clove, and sometimes the pollinated and the matured particular clove, they are known as the clove fruits. So, all these are generally used as a adulteration, they do not have the eugenol which is present in clove buds. So, this is about mentha and clove. So, in next class we will be discussing about next 3 volatile oil drugs. Thank you very much.